Oh my goodness gracious. Sorry, I did not have my shirt buttoned while I was doing or preparing for the live stream today. Just because, I'm just casual in my car. Or do you like it unbuttoned? Who knows? Anyway, good morning, everyone. I always do this live stream before I go into work, so, just putting it all out there. Oh my goodness gracious, we have a lot to get to. Look, everything that's happening with Epstein right now, the shit is about to hit the fan. And when Trump is refusing to answer questions about Epstein, that's when you know it's bad. Like, he obviously doesn't want to talk about this, and I get it if it implicates you, but regardless of your party, regardless of how you feel about a lot of things in America, I view it as a national security risk and an embarrassment for us to have a sexual predator as president. I could have told you that before. That all being said, just looking at all of this, it's so obvious that Trump is guilty. And, it's not the fault of people that are bringing forward this and pushing for more transparency and justice for victims. It's the fault of the people that are concealing it because they're cowards and they cannot face criticism or accountability. Sorry, not sorry. And so you have reporters that are basically asking a whole bunch of questions and Trump just ignores them. Now, you might be like, oh, well, of course, naturally, a politician doesn't want to answer questions. But this is Trump. This is Trump. He always answers reporters' questions, calls them fake news or crap or insults them or whatever. He doesn't even have the energy. He doesn't even have the audacity to be normal Trump, because what is he going to say? So it's actually groundbreaking for him to not be able to even respond like that. So, I mean, wow. We're going to be going over everything regarding what has happened in regard to the Epstein files. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of the current developments. And then, yes, I'm actually going to go through a whole development from the beginning of Trump's presidency, with Elon Musk initially saying, hey, Trump is in the Epstein files, and then going from there and showing you how this train has started becoming derailed. And I'm going to be going through step by step everything that has happened. So I'll be giving you the current, what we know, and then I'm also going to be backtracking and sharing what has happened. So anyway, please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. I will, if there is a super chat, I will be reading the super chat. Moderators, of course, just text me. I appreciate every single one of you. Let me take a sip of my coffee and then we will fully get started. Oh, thank you, C-Bar. I appreciate you. C-Bar is such an amazing, amazing friend in the live. And also just an amazing friend. So, love you. Sending lots of love and good vibes to you. Okay, so what is the current development that has happened? So, let me break it all down. Let me all break it down for you. Is this Lance Bass? Correction, Lance Bass looks like me. Okay, you know how I'd be like, oh, you look like Lance Bass. I'd be like, no. Lance Bass looks like me. Trust me, I'm just trying to be funny, okay? Anyway, so let's break everything down here. Trump refuses to take questions as reporter asks, can you respond to these Epstein emails? Well, recently, the House Oversight Committee, House Democrats, have actually put out and disclosed a whole bunch of emails between Jeffrey Epstein and other people, including Larry Summers, including Michael Wolff. And so I'll talk to you about who all these characters are. And also, it does talk about Trump in those emails. So when he was asked about it, President Donald Trump uncharacteristically did not take questions after signing a bill ending the government shutdown yesterday, Wednesday night. And it's interesting because hours before signing the bill, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released emails from the deceased child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, who wrote in 2011 that Trump, then a private citizen, spent hours at my house with someone whose name had been redacted. There have been a lot of speculation on who that is. The leading speculation is that it is deceased victim Virginia Giuffre. May she rest in peace. And going through all of that, this is how it went. Trump said, "Oh, thank you very much." There were several reporters that were trying to ask questions. He said, "I think we have a really good situation. I think we have a good situation." And further, it didn't even seem like he wanted to answer questions. Someone said, "Hey, Mr. President, are you prepared to negotiate with Democrats now?" After receiving no response, "Mr. President, can you respond to these Epstein emails that were released today?" White House aides ushered the reporters out of the Oval Office without the president answering any questions. It is baffling. Like, this is not typical for Trump. This is like, I can't overstate how different this is. Trump is always answering reporters' questions. To a fault, whether he's saying crap, he does. He does. He answers people's questions. Or I shouldn't say answers. That's, he responds with whatever crap. But like, he didn't even have the effort to respond. And when you don't, when you're like pleading the fifth in that way, it's like you obviously don't know what to say. Like, Trump is so guilty. But let me also just share some things. I'm actually going to show you some of the screenshots that were released. And I'm still breaking down, I'm still processing all of this myself. We're going to be knowing more in the coming days when we, really dig into these specific files, these email threads. I'm going to be talking about what does it say about Larry Summers, or what does it say about Michael Wolff, or what does it say about Bill Clinton. We'll be getting into all of that. I think the American people, one issue that I feel like can hopefully unite American people is like, look, holding sexual predators accountable, it should not be a partisan issue. It shouldn't be. There are so many different levels to the Epstein scandal that span across party lines, party affiliation. We can all agree that anyone who does those nefarious things should be held accountable. I don't care if it's someone a part of my party, the Democratic Party, or a Republican Party. I don't care. Victims need justice. Predators need to be held accountable. And, what's so funny is all these MAGA people are like, well, why didn't Biden release the files? Good question. He didn't necessarily have the full authority to do it. He could have done something. But also, I think that the mainstream Democratic Party also didn't want to release any parts because it also implicates them. Well, now, Democratic voters are like, we don't care if it exposes people in the Democratic Party. Victims deserve justice. We don't want people a part of our party if you are that kind of crap. Why else do you think that New Yorkers were like, we don't want Andrew Cuomo? He did all of these awful things to women. He has shit policies anyway. We want a real working class champion. That's why they voted in Zoran Mamdani. That's another reason why people were like, yeah, I don't want to go for Andrew Cuomo. That's a serial sexual predator. He's known for doing that. Why would Democrats want that kind of crap in our party, But let me also just go through some of the emails that were released here. I'm still processing this myself. If you're enjoying the live stream, please make sure to send some likes. Let's go. Jeffrey Epstein says that he was at Trump Tower in late 2016, just days after Donald Trump won his first presidential election. Those emails don't lie. Trump can tweet all he wants about hoaxes, but Trump can't dodge journalists forever. Let me blow this up here so that you can see it a little bit better. This is one of the email threads that was released here. You can see down here, I don't know who Linda Stone is. Maybe someone in the chat can answer. But they initially started talking about, oh, do you think that, she was like, hey, do you think that you'll have a cabinet position, as she says to Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein responds, do you think he can win? Linda Stone says, speak, please, what do you think? And Jeffrey Epstein says, too far to tell. We'll know more come October 15th. So Jeffrey Epstein's being very cryptic about it. This is just one of those things that was released. And then Linda Stone says, how's that? Which team are you pulling for? And then there was no answer. Then Linda Stone says, hey, are you still in Paris? And then Jeffrey Epstein says, Trump Tower. I mean, this is in 2016, or this is before the 2016 election. So it's so funny because Trump's like, I haven't talked about Jeffrey. I haven't spoken to Jeffrey. I haven't talked with him after I booted him out of Mar-a-Lago. I haven't spoken with him. Well, then why is he in Trump Tower? This is the thing. Like, the evidence stacking up against Trump not knowing or talking to Jeffrey Epstein or anything like that, it's just blasphemous. Like, it's laughable that anyone would fall for that kind of crap. Ask yourself, if this was someone of your same political affiliation and opposite political affiliation, I hope that you would come to the same exact conclusion, because I would. If this was Kamala Harris or Joe Biden trying to put this off, if they were trying to be like, yeah, I wasn't a part of that, Jack, it's like, the evidence stacking up against you really shows, yeah, that you're pretty damn guilty. Like, let me get you some other emails. I thought this was a really good representation of everything with everything with Epstein. I don't know who Clairvoyant is, but I thought this was actually a pretty good encapsulation. You don't have to agree, but you can see the owner, Jeffrey Epstein, the distributor, Ghislaine Maxwell, the buyer, Donald Trump, and the product is Melania. Like, I think that's pretty sufficient here. Now, I want to also show you some of these other email screenshots that were actually shared. So you can see here. So this is Larry Summers. For people, you're like, who in the world is Larry Summers? So these emails also expose Larry Summers, who I believe is kind of a contributor to both parties, but a little bit more Democratic. Just putting it out there. I'd have to double check if that statement is incorrect. I apologize. That's my speculation. That's my prediction. Larry Summers was actually part of the Wall Street, like, stock market crash, the housing crisis that all happened. He was the guy that was playing with he was one of the guys that was playing with Wall Street's money with, like, the derivatives, and that led to part of a crash. So Larry Summers is an awful, very, very, like, mainstream establishment kind of character. He is very, very corrupt. That's something I can tell you. I could do a whole live specifically diving into Larry Summers, his guilt, what he's done. He's not a good guy. Also, these emails also show that, yeah, he's kind of a part of this. So you can see here, on Wednesday, February 8th of 2017, Larry Summers wrote, "It's okay. He didn't wreck world and avoided scandal. What does Rumler say regarding his attitude towards women?" Jeffrey Epstein responds, "Recall, I've told you, I have met some very bad people. None as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous." Now, also, this email cache reveals how former Harvard president Larry Summers stayed in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. This, I think, is partially why, and this is my speculation, I feel like this is partially why some Democrats didn't want to release some Epstein files. Because if my speculation is correct, I would have to double check, but I believe that Larry Summers is a very big contributor to the Democratic Party establishment, not the grassroots candidates like AOC or Zoran Mamdani, the part that I am part of, like the super progressive wing. These are like Larry Summers is more of like the Democratic establishment. That's my prediction. I have to double check. I won't tell you something as certain unless I can verify it. I would have to double check on that. But I feel like that's also why some Democrats didn't want to release it, because it made, like, Bill Clinton maybe look a little bit bad or something like that. But listen, regardless of your political affiliation, we all want justice for the victims. So for MAGA to deny that, oh, this doesn't hurt Trump, yeah, it fucking does. But also, this is about justice for victims. This doesn't need to be a partisan issue. So let me check the chat to see if I'm actually right about any of that. Wow, it's just homophobia in here. That's wild. I love how I can talk about this kind of thing, and then, like, half of the comments are literally just homophobia. Really? Are you really... Do you have a walnut in the size of your brain? Like, sweetheart, if all you can see is my sexuality, which, yes, you are right on that, but if all you can see is my sexuality, you're the weirdo. You're the weirdo that's constantly like putting out hatred. If all you see about a person is their sexuality, you're the creep. You need to go see a therapist. You need help, hun. Anyway, going forward with this, email cache reveals how former Harvard president Larry Summers stayed in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. So this is a guy who also was implicated in some of this. And then here is some exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and Larry Summers. Let's see. Some of it is like, I'm not quite sure how to handle it, or how to like what I'm thinking about it. I believe that LHS means Larry Summers, because you can see down at the bottom, it says scheduling inquiries to my office. So I believe LHS is supposed to be Larry Summers' email. And with it being redacted, I believe that email is probably still going. I'm thinking that LHS stands for Larry, his middle name, H. Summers. Or it could be Larry Harvard School. I don't know. I would have to double check. But you can see here, more would represent Donald if Koloskowitz was out of the picture. Not surprising. Very hard to be a law firm representing POTUS and know what to do when POTUS lies to you. My world thinks poorly of Gorlick for representing Jared. How guilty is Donald? Of crudity, surely. Of gross ignorance, surely. Of being utterly without the intellect, temperament for job, surely. Oh my God. Of gross regard for appearances, almost surely. Of Russians having financial leverage, less clear. Of Russians helping in election with complicity of his campaign, plausible but not certain. Strikes me if you work for Donald, you don't freelance, so he's guilty of whatever his campaign did. Do you agree with foregoing? And then Jeffrey Epstein responds, your world does not understand how dumb he really is. Oh my God. Wait, I knew this was Jeffrey Epstein, but I haven't fully read this all the way through. Oh my God. Jeffrey Epstein is like, yeah, Trump's an idiot. Your world does not understand how dumb he really is. He will blame everyone around him for bad results. Gary Cohn in good place, as is Jared. All others not long for this world. Interesting argument whether using WhatsApp is obstruction of justice. Deletes after sending. Wow. Okay. That's something that, I don't know if mainstream news has actually really fully dove into that, but Larry Summers, who has been in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit, he's not in, to me, in my analysis, you don't have to agree, I think Larry Summers has done so much crap with the housing crisis, Wall Street, the 2008 financial crisis. Like, he was a part of all the, like, derivatives and basically, like, profiting off of it. But then also being in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit, he's like, how guilty is Donald Trump? And then Jeffrey Epstein responds, your world does not understand how dumb he really is. Ooh. Oh, wow. Y'all, what do you think? Like, look, these are what the emails say. The green is Jeffrey Epstein. So this is an email thread between Jeffrey Epstein and a person named Peter Mendelsohn. I don't know who that is. Jeffrey Epstein says, 63 years old, you made it. And then Peter Mendelsohn says, I've decided to extend my life by spending more of it in the U.S. And then Jeffrey Epstein says, in the Donald White House. And then Peter Mendelsohn says, what's the Donald White House? And how are you? And then Jeffrey Epstein says, Trump and having a great deal of fun. In hindsight, you were right about staying away from Andrew. I'm assuming that's like Prince Andrew, who's also been a part of this orbit. I was right in your staying with Ronaldo. I'm not sure who Ronaldo is. That was another one that was released. Look, and you don't have to agree with my opinions or my analysis here, but I just want to make sure and show you these emails here. This is between author Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein. So Michael Wolff says, I'm interviewing him this afternoon. Anything you think I should ask? Now, I don't know who him is, but the subject is regarding Trump. So I'm going to say that I believe that him refers to Trump. I'm interviewing Trump this afternoon. Anything you think I should ask? Jeffrey Epstein responds, do you want to be proactive? Trump shuttle, Hawaiian tropic contests, mortgage on Mar-a-Lago, revenue of golf course as income, total debt of COS. People don't want to contribute money, as he said he is over 10 billion. Why should they? California already coming up short. Father brought chips in the casino to stave off bankruptcy because it was better than a first lien under the gambling rules. Matt, his bag man, his loan from his brother-in-law, judge's husband. How much did his father leave his brother Robert? Otherwise, you can just throw easies. And then Michael Wolff says, job is to get the hard ones in without being ejected from the room. What's one question that pierces through? So for those people who don't know, like, Michael Wolff is an author. I think he's kind of like a hard-hitting author, journalist, documentarian. And Jeffrey Epstein responds, maybe you can ask why Bernie Nussbaum got Vince Foster's letter quickly. That is a Hillary problem. Maybe that refers to Hillary Clinton. He would smile, then ask you his relationship with his electricians unions in Mar-a-Lago. And then you go, huh? And out you go. And then, what's the thumbnail on Nussbaum Foster? Nussbaum White House counsel, Hillary doing naughties with Vince. I don't know I'm not sure what all of this is regarding or what it's about, but that was another one that was released. This is between Jeffrey Epstein and Tom Barack. I don't know who Tom Barack is. I don't think this is going to be like Barack Obama or anything. Maybe it's Tom Barrack. Hope you are well. Photos look good. FYI, I receive many calls a week about both Donald, Marla, beauty contests, and Clinton from reporters. Less so with Clinton, but my answers are always I have nothing to say, or I try altogether. A few times I have been ambushed with questions on the street, but more careful now. And then this Tom Barrack says, hope you are good. Let's catch up. Send photos of you and child. Make me... It says, okay, I don't want to read that all the way through. It says, send photos of you and child, space, dash, space, make me smile. Y'all, I prepared to like read some of this, but I didn't fully like read everything all the way through. Viewer discretion is advised. Like, wow, just wow. Yeah, still talking about Biden or Obama in 2025 is crazy. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm just looking at some of this here. Flamboyant people freaking out to normal responses. Y'all, I'm just reading some of it. I love how I'm trying to just give you the raw factual information and people still find ways to try and like put me down. Sweetheart, my skin is so thick it's like a wallet, okay? I am a gay man from the South, all right? Trust me, you can't get me. You can't get to me. Let me give you some other screenshots here that have been disclosed. Which one did I just read? Was it this one? Yeah, it was that one. Yes, so the next one is this one. So Jeffrey Epstein is talking with Kathy Roombeller. I don't know who that is. But you can see here, you need to talk to boss. Kathy says agreed, but I need to be prepared to say yes before I talk to him. I don't know what this is regarding. The subject is blank. Understood. It comes down to high risk ward, low risk reward, professional, emotional, and financial. Most girls do not have to worry about this crap. Jeffrey Epstein says, girls, careful, I will renew an old habit. Oh, God. Ugh. Jeez Louise. Okay, let me continue reading here. This week, Peter Thiel. Okay, that's a new one. Thiel, Summers, we talked about that. Bill Burns, Gordon Brown, Jagland, Council of Europe and Noble Chairman, Mongolia Press, Hardeep Pure, that's of India, Boris of Gates, Jabor. Okay, they're putting out a whole bunch of people's names here. You are welcome guest at any. You're a welcome guest at any. Also, if you think you are interested, if there are interesting people in town, everyone is here for a climate summit. Clinton, Security Council, but holy shit, I'm on blank for the next 30 minutes. And then Kathy says, doesn't look like you're prioritizing your schedule very effectively. How are you going to manage all of that? This is Unga week, so the boss will be in town too. I'll be here all week. You may get sick of me. Just sat down on the train, so can't talk freely. Y'all, this is wild. So with all of this being broken down, this was also interesting. So I'm no fan of Bill Clinton. No fan. He is part of the Jeffrey Epstein orbit. Though, in part of these email exchanges, there was one thing that was interestingly said. Jeffrey Epstein said Bill Clinton was never on the island. This is in an email that was released here. I know the print is small, and you can see here, it's to the Duke. I'm assuming this is no, that's Prince Andrew. I don't know who the Duke is. But it's from Jeffrey Epstein. You okay? These stories are complete utter fantasy. I don't know that you have met Al Gore. Clinton was never on the island. The telephone book is not mine. It was stolen by my houseman that is currently in prison for doing so. So Jeffrey Epstein is writing to the Duke of whatever about that. So Jeffrey Epstein himself was like, yeah, Clinton was never on the island. Now, do I believe him? I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just sharing what is in here. But when asked about some of these things, Trump refuses to answer. That's wild. That's wild. I mean, just breaking all this down here, I mean, wow. Just wow. And again, with also this, these new emails show that Trump was actually spending a decent amount of time with a victim at, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump, that Jeffrey Epstein says to Ghislaine Maxwell. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, I don't know what that, I'm 75% there. I don't know what all that's supposed to mean. But anyway, the more that all of this really, like, the shit is hitting the fan, and for those people who are like, wait, is Trump really guilty? Well, I don't know. Let me tell you, let me show you, okay? He is obviously frustrated when people ask about Epstein. To me, if you get defensive immediately, yeah, that kind of proves some guilt. This is also the same guy that said that he never had the privilege of going to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Do y'all remember when Trump said that? This was recently. This is Trump's quote here. Quote, "I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his parties. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island." Okay, pause. I never had the privilege of going to his island. But then you also, you're saying it was a privilege. Trump claimed that going to Jeffrey Epstein's island is a privilege. That sounds like guilt to me. 100%. Also, another thing. This is the same guy that, when asked in an interview I believe this was a few years back now, would you declassify the Epstein files? And he says, yeah, I guess I would, but, I would focus on that less so because you don't want it to affect people's lives because there's a lot of phony stuff in there. He's like, there's a lot of phony stuff in that world. Gee, I wonder who that's implicating. So you can also see that Trump is on the Epstein flight logs. Being on the plane doesn't mean that you were on the island, but Jeffrey Epstein's plane was also known for unsavory actions, might I just point out. Of course, it's also reported that Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, I wouldn't be surprised if Larry Summers is on this list. High-profile people that obviously don't want their name being put in the public eye as being related to Jeffrey Epstein and his corruption, his blasphemy, his disgusting crap. But just also throwing it all out there, this is also stuff that Trump would say. "I tell you the funniest thing. I'll go backstage before a Miss Teen USA show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready, and everything, and no men are anywhere. I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting the girls. 14 to 16 are standing there with no clothes on. And you see these incredible women, looking women, teens, and sort of get away with things like that." And with all of this, the Trump administration initially, if you all just want to go all the way back, they claimed they're there's no Epstein client list. There's no client list. They tried to, in the middle of the night, release this statement basically saying that they're closing the Epstein investigation. The systematic review revealed no incriminating client list, even though Pam Bondi was she was asked about Jeffrey Epstein's client list, and she said, quote, "It is sitting on my desk right now to review." So then all of a sudden they're like, there is no list. And she backed out of talking out of a human trafficking summit, claiming that she had a problem with her cornea, which could be very possible. But people were joking that, she must have torn her eye out reading the Epstein files. All of that being said, Trump calling it a privilege. And then also you see, I don't even want to show you, but that's his signature right there. You can see it. That's on that creepy little body message note. The more emails that come out, Jeffrey Epstein basically calling Trump an idiot. Where's the one where he called him an idiot? That was funny. I've met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Not one decent bone in his body. I mean, God. So, with Trump refusing to answer any questions regarding all of this, it really does show that shit is about to hit the fan. And the last thing that I will say is the House looks like it is about, with Adelita Grijalva, the new congresswoman, being allowed, or now being sworn in, they finally have the 218th signature in order to then discharge the Epstein files. Though, when Congress votes on it, and this is a bipartisan thing between Thomas Massey, Ro Khanna, we have, to their credit, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massey, basically like, yeah, we're going to disclose the Epstein files. All that being said, with Adelita Grijalva, the new congresswoman from Arizona, being sworn in, they finally have the last signature they need to then push for the disclosure of these Epstein files. That doesn't mean that it won't be blocked in the Senate, or blocked because the president will veto it, like if it even gets through the Senate. And so then it would have to go back to the Senate, where it would require 2/3. That doesn't mean that you don't put up a fight, though. People deserve to see it. Anyway, all this being said, the House is likely to vote on the bill next week, the week of November 17th, and we'll see how it goes. I think regardless of people's political affiliation, the victims deserve justice, the predators deserve to be held accountable, and, we, the American people, are tired. We want to see justice. So anyway, I need to get to work. I love all of you. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here: Akicha, Kate, Elisa, Cherie, Cantisa, Joanna Tech, Jenny. I love you all so much. Akicha. Anyway, y'all are incredible and amazing. Love you, Ellie. I have to get to work. Just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever dim your shine. I love you all so much. Bye!